Well, take a bow, son. I mean that, take a bow.
So we're finally getting rid of Diego Costa after a whole summer of speculation as to whether or not he's going to go to Atletico or elsewhere. It seems like a deal's actually been agreed in principle for him to go back to Atletico. I'm seeing figures of around sort of like 50 to 58 million. It's not... The thing is, like, considering the circumstances, it's not bad money, but if you consider the current market and the climate and the fees that you're seeing people go for, it's not the best money for a 28-year-old who's arguably the world's best striker, but it's not a bad deal. Anyway, he is off, and obviously we've got Morata to come in and replace him. And Morata started absolutely brilliantly. Costa scored 59 goals in 120 games in all competitions. However, he actually scored 52 goals in 89 league games, which is an absolutely fantastic goals to game ratio in the league. I think it's actually one of the best, if not the best, in Premier League history, which just shows how good he was for us. All that as well, considering the ill-fated 15-16 season where I think he scored 12 league goals. The whole team was absolutely awful and Costa's head was just not in it. Just makes it more impressive, really. Now, by comparison, Alvaro Morata has 6 goals in 6 league games. Obviously, he won a couple without scoring, but then he scored a hat-trick yesterday to make up for that. So Morata started absolutely brilliantly. He seems to be getting better with every single game. And you've got to consider as well, he started brilliantly and we haven't even got our best player, Eden Hazard, playing. So I just wanted to go through a few points and sort of compare them. How Costa was for us, how Morata looks, and obviously talk about whether or not Morata can actually replace, and if not, better Diego Costa. So let's start with aerial ability. Costa was 6'2", he was aggressive, he had a physical presence, but he was surprisingly poor in the air. He scored very little headers for us. He didn't win many either. It was one of his weakest parts of his game. Morata, however, obviously he's come in, and I think his first 3 goals for us were all headers. He looks brilliantly in regards to linking up play with his head as well. His positioning and his jumping is just brilliant. And Morata's also 6'2", so it's a direct comparison with Costa, but Morata's just far superior to Costa in the air. It's a really nice outlet for us as well, because when we're struggling against teams, we couldn't do that with Costa. We couldn't just ping the ball up to him like we used to do with Didier Drogba back in the day, and it's a really, really nice outlet and a really good plan B as well. Now, Diego Costa's pace wasn't the quickest, but he also wasn't slow. I found he took a while to accelerate, but once he got going, he was a very powerful runner, and obviously combine that with his strength, he was a force to be reckoned with when at top speed. But he was never, ever what I consider a fast player. Morata, however, is deceptively quick. He's shown it a few times. Again, he's not, we're talking like one of the fastest players in the league, but he's considerably quicker than Costa, in my opinion, just in terms of his acceleration and overall top speed. He is deceptively strong as well while on the ball, but I think the thing that makes the whole difference is how good Morata is at dribbling, because he can actually dribble at pace. Costa's sometimes looked a bit awkward dribbling, and maybe that affected him, whereas Morata seems to be able to pick the ball up and run quite fast, which obviously helps in beating players. Costa's finishing was absolutely fantastic when he was on it. I don't know, it was a bit of a weird one, Costa, because his conversion rate, especially when he first signed, was absolutely brilliant. I remember Squawker putting a comment out saying it was one of the highest conversion rates he'd actually seen from a striker in a very, very long time, and they just fully expected it to drop. It didn't really drop that much. Costa, strangely, used to score most of his chances. He was prone to silly, stupid, big mess like an open goal. I think he rounded the keeper a couple of times in his Chelsea career and put it wide and things like that. But overall, when he was on it, he was absolutely ruthless. Morata's obviously a very good finisher. I mean, the guy's got 6 and 6. But he can definitely still improve his finishing. Even yesterday, even though he scored a hat-trick, he could have had 4 or 5. So I think that is something that will come the more he adapts to the Premier League. The good thing about Morata, and I get onto this in a second, is his movement. He will continue to get chances because his movement's so good. So he can almost afford to miss a few chances because you know he's going to get a couple more. In regards to link-up play, I think Morata's far superior to Costa. I've seen some people say that he isn't, which I find really bizarre. I went to the Arsenal game last week, and even though he had quite a lack of service, I thought he looked far more agile on the ball, more aware. and he just seems to have a vision in regards to where his teammates are. Costa definitely wasn't bad at link-up play. When he was on it again, he retained possession well, and he actually got quite a lot of assists at Chelsea as well, which I don't think people give him enough credit for. But I just feel like with Morata, with his agility, with his movement, his pace, and his aerial ability as well, he'll be far superior linking up play. Probably the best striker we've had since Didier Drogba in regards to linking up play. In regards to movement, Diego Costa was absolutely brilliant at movement. His off the ball ability was just fantastic again when he was on form and when he was bothered. And the fact that he was so aggressive as well, it just caused havoc. The only thing that let Costa down, I found, was when he was played in behind by the likes of Fabregas, just because he didn't have a lot of pace. Sometimes he didn't quite get to a through ball that a quicker striker would have. The good thing about Morata is his movement's absolutely brilliant, and this ties in with his link-up play, his aerial ability, his positioning is absolutely brilliant, and he's actually got the pace to back it up as well. So I think it's a bit harsh on Costa to say Morata's off-the-ball movement is better, but potentially Morata could overshadow him in that as well, which was actually one of Costa's strengths. Now, this last point is something we're going to have to wait to see, but is Morata a better big game player than Costa? Costa was one of the big game players for us. He brought aggressiveness to a game when we were struggling, and he usually ended up scoring in big games as well. The one downside Costa had, I suppose, was that he never really did it outside of the Premier League. Especially not in Europe as well. His Champions League record is horrendous, which is something Morata could definitely beat him on. Morata's played in a couple of big games so far in his Chelsea career. We're talking Spurs and against Arsenal. Now, both games I didn't feel like he got a lot of service, so it's very harsh to judge. Spurs, he was very early on in his Chelsea career as well. Like I said, against Arsenal, I felt like he showed some good touches, his movement was good, and he worked hard. So, potentially, he could be very good. I'm sure he will be, because he's got that winner's mentality. I mean, the guy's already won, I think, 2 Champions League medals. Admittedly, not as a starter, but he's still got that in him. So it's going to take a lot for Morata to beat Costa's big game ability, but if he can add that to his game and bang some goals in the Champions League this season, then we're really going to be looking at Morata in a couple of years as a far superior striker to Diego Costa. Overall, I'm really excited about Morata. He's 25 this year, so he's very young, and I think he's much easier on the eye. He's less controversial, so he's less likely to get sent off or cause problems in the dressing room. And he's just an overall better player. I think as long as he keeps improving as well, he could become one of our all-time best strikers. So it's really, really exciting. And the other thing is as well, Morata's already played for Juventus, he's played for Madrid. So you've got to think that this is a move that is going to keep him stable for a few years. So we should end up getting Morata's peak years as well. So it's really, really exciting. Obviously, we're going to miss Diego, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the future of Morata up front.